Please like, share, and subscribe to the videos. I appreciate it. Hit the notification bell so you're notified when I drop new videos. Today, what I want to talk about, and it's I guess it's, for some people, it's kind of a touchy subject. You know, some people agree with it, some people don't, which I don't care if you do or you don't. But it's about, should you be friends with your kids? And me growing up, my parents treated me like I was their child, not their friend. I was never treated like a friend. Most people weren't. Most people were treated like children, not friends. But things changed, and I started to notice that, as when I was growing up, that people would treat their children like they were their friends. You know what I mean? Like, and you would hear it. You'd hear somebody say, "Oh, that's my mom's like, especially girls. Oh, my mom's my best friend," and yada yada yada. And then sometimes you hear, guys saying that shit about their father, like, my father's my best friend. We weren't treated that way. We were treated like kids. Because you're walking a fine fucking line by doing that. So when I had kids, I would never, I always said to myself, I'd never treat my kids like I'm their friend. And I would tell my kids, like, don't ever call me your friend. I'm not your friend. You know, my kids are not even really allowed to even cuss around me. I don't like them cussing around me. I'll tell them, they cuss around me, hey, watch your mouth. I'm not your friend. Don't cuss around me like that. My kids not allowed to drink around me. When they were coming around, they weren't allowed to drink around me. I don't give a fuck how old you are. I'm not your friend. You want to drink? You want to hang out? Go do that shit with your friends. Go do that with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or your husband, or whatever. But don't do that shit here with me. You're not doing it at my house. I'm not going to do it at your house. I'm not your friend. No matter how old they are, that's just the way that I feel. And I remember one time, this was maybe like 7 years ago, about 7 years ago. My daughter, my oldest daughter, her and her boyfriend, her husband now, but her and her boyfriend, I went to a baseball game with my ex. We were at the Angels game, and my oldest daughter had told me that she was going to the Angels game too that day. Her and her boyfriend, and she was already in her mid-20s, I think. And so I was sitting on one side of the stadium because we didn't buy tickets together. I didn't even know she was going. I think I had posted on Facebook or some shit, and she seen that I was going, so she messaged me. She's like, "Hey, we're gonna be there too." And so were on the other side of the field of the baseball stadium. So me and my ex were sitting there watching the game with some other people. Well, I think I was with my aunt, and then my daughter called me. She's like, "Hey, are you here?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Where are you sitting at?" So I told her. So her and her boyfriend came over there, and she came by to say hi, whatever. And she's like, "Hey, can we get a beer together?" I was like, "No, no, I didn't come here with you. I'm not your friend. You want to drink? Go back to where you were sitting at. Don't do that shit over here with me." She's like, "But Dad, I mean, I'm an adult, and I said, I don't care how old you are. I'm not your friend. I don't want you drinking around me. We don't party together. We don't do that. I'm your dad. That's it. Don't ask." She never asked again after that. You know what I mean? But I told her, don't ask. Don't ever ask that. I'm not your friend. Take your ass back to over there where you're sitting at. You drink as much as you want, do whatever you want over there, but don't do it right here with me. So she didn't. And there's been times with my son, my youngest son. He's already adult. He can drink. He do whatever he wants. He used to tell me, like, hey, Dad, can we have a beer together? Nope, not your friend. Go do that shit with your friends. It's not with me. I'm your dad. Respect me. Be cussing around me. Don't be drinking around me. You know what I mean? Don't smoke weed. Don't do that shit. Don't do any of that stuff around me. I don't want to know. Just do that shit somewhere else, but not with me. And I stayed firm with that. I think maybe one time my son came to one of my parties that I had, a birthday party at a restaurant or a bar. I can't remember what it was at, but my son showed up there. That was the only time that he ever drank around me. You know what I mean? But I mean, that was a public place. It was a restaurant or a bar, whatever. He showed up there, and he did what he did. He drank beer or whatever. I don't even remember. Maybe he had a beer or something. I don't know. But it wasn't like me and he were right there hanging out, just drinking together, because I'm just not. It's not my thing. Now, what other people do is their business. You know what I mean? I don't care. I'm not judging anybody for what they do. That's your business. You want to hang out with your friend, your kids, and treat them like your friends. That's on you. But my thing has always been, you walk in a fine line. My thing has always been, once you allow your kids to look at you as a friend, they will treat you as a friend also. They don't forget that you're their parent, but they would also treat you as a friend would treat you. You know what I mean? And sometimes they can get real disrespectful, because they think, oh, well, you're my friend. They don't look at you as their parent anymore. They look at you as their friend. Even now, like I have two stepsons. One, he's a grown ass man. He's 26, 27, somewhere around there, 28. I don't know. I hang out with him. We drink and party, but that's my wife's son. He was a grown ass adult when I met him. You know what I mean? So there's nothing I could say. He can do what he wants. But then there's the younger one, and he's pretty much in the same boat as my kids were when it comes to shit like that. He can't. I don't know if he drinks. I don't. He's never drank around me. He doesn't drink in my house. He doesn't do that shit here. You know what I mean? He's been caught doing dumb shit, and he gets in trouble for it. You know what I mean? But as far as does he drink, he probably does. What fucking kid that's like 17 years old doesn't? He probably does. I ain't never seen him do it. He ain't allowed to do that shit here. You know what I mean? And it's gonna be that way for him as long as I'm around. How his mother and his brother have lived their life, and what they do is up to them. But with the younger one, the rules have to be the way they are with my own kids, because I met him when he was like 12 years old. You know what I mean? So he's like 17 now. So he has to go through the same shit. So he's not allowed to do that with me. He won't be allowed to do that with me. I'm not his friend like that. We're not friends. We're not buddies. We're not pals. You know what I mean? You're not going to come over and hang out and drink with me. That's not the way it's going to be. You want to drink? Go do that shit somewhere else. Even if you're an adult, go do that shit somewhere else. Don't do it over here with me. I don't want to hang out with you. The other one, he's already an adult when I met him. He can do whatever he wants. But this one, since I've known him since he was younger and he's growing up in front of me, I have to be the same way with him. Like, you're not doing that shit with me, so don't come over trying to hang. Whatever his mom does on her. But with me, I'm not your fucking pal. I want him I think it's just a respect thing. With me, I think it's a respect thing. So, but like I said, what other people do is up to them. I know there's people that will be offended by it because they do that. You could look on Instagram, Facebook, all that shit. You see these people hang out. I even know people that hang out with their kids, where their kids are like 16 years old and they're letting their kids drink. It's like, hey, whatever you do is on you. Whatever path you lead your kids on, or you walk that path with your kids, that's on you. I always thought of it this way. I never want one day for my kids to be able to say, if they had a drug problem or they become alcoholics, that I was part of that. That I was giving them alcohol. That I was saying it's okay for you to do these things, to do drugs or smoke weed and shit like that. You know what I mean? I don't never want my kids to be able to fucking blame me for that shit later on in their life. If they become drug addicts or alcoholics, and maybe they're in their lives, they say that, like, I learned this shit from my dad. My dad let me fucking smoke weed when I was a kid. My dad used to party with me when I was a kid, drink beer with him and hang out with him like that. And that's where the shit went. I became a fucking drug addict. I don't never want my kids to be able to say that shit about me. You can say whatever, they can say whatever the fuck they want about me, but that's not one thing they can say. They can never say that. I didn't teach them that. I didn't hang out with them that way, and I will always be that way. And they have no other choice but to respect it. It's my way, or get the fuck out of here. If you're not gonna follow the rules that I have, set in place, then get out. Don't be over here. Don't come to my house. Don't be around me if you're not gonna listen to what I'm telling you. You know what I mean? That's the way that I feel about that. Again, and for me, I mean, when I was growing up, like I said, I was treated like a child, not a friend. I treated my mother and father like my mother and father. Didn't cuss around them. You know, as I got older, when my mother and father got divorced, things had changed. Things had changed, and yeah, I drank around my mother. I smoked cigarettes with my mother. You know, I sold dope for my mother. You know what I mean? Things had changed, and then when I came home in 1992, yes, I drank with my father. But one thing I never did was I never did dope with my father. I drank around him, yeah. I never did dope around my mother. I probably did drink with her, drink around her. And I remember one time we were at my dad's garage in Riverside. We were in my dad's garage in Riverside. I had barely moved out here. It was 1995. And some of his homeboys from the harbor came down to the house, and we were over there in the garage. We were partying and drinking. And when they used to come down, usually come down for the weekend. So it was gonna be like a weekend thing. People would be hanging out. And so we're in the garage, and one of his homeboys busts out a sack. And, and he's like, hey, little Mike, you want some of this shit or what? And my dad's sitting right here. We're sitting around the table in the garage, like, and he's sitting over here. He's like, hey, little Mike, you want some of this? Threw the sack on the table, and I said, yeah. I'll take some. And my dad grabs the bag, and he's like, nah, don't. He told homie, don't offer him nothing. He goes, you can't do that around me. What I do in my house, in my garage, is my business, but me and you can't do that shit together. And I said, all right. You know what I mean? That's cool. Yeah, we can drink around each other, talk shit. But when it came to the dope, he was like, no, you ain't doing it in my house. You ain't doing it with me. What I do here is my house, is my business, but me and you cannot do dope together. And he told his homeboy, don't offer him drugs in front of me. So I had to respect my dad for that. You know what I mean? Because I was ready to do it. You know what I mean? But it also, it helped me to grow in my beliefs too, even more. That my dad, even when I was an adult, he said, nah, you can't get high with me. We can't do that shit together. All right, no problem. So, like I said, that's the way that I feel about it. I know other people. Um, I won't mention their name, but it was an ex's family, and she would allow her son to her kids to drink in the house and smoke weed in the garage and do all this shit. And it was the house to come hang out where all the other kids came hang out in the garage. They'd be drinking, smoking weed and shit. And you're talking about 15-year-old kids, 16-year-old kids, 14-year-old kids up in the garage, drinking, smoking, doing all the shit they're doing. You know what I mean? And I remember I used to tell her, like, hey, one of these days, man, if one of these kids gets too fucked up in here, gets alcohol poisoning, gets way too high, goes home, and the family finds out that they did it here at your house and you're allowing it, you're gonna go to fucking jail. You're gonna be contributing to a minor. You got all these fucking, 9, 10 kids up in your garage playing PlayStation, getting high, drinking beer. Where the fuck they getting the beer from? You're helping buy it. You know what I mean? If something was to happen, but people don't think about those things. I used to think about that kind of shit. Like, no. Get your fucking friends out of here. Like, I wouldn't want my kids' friends hanging at my house. They're doing like, get the fuck out of here. Don't do that shit over here. I don't need the cops coming over here because you went home and got fucking blasted at my house. And now they're like, oh, he's contributing to a minor now. Fuck that shit. You know what I mean? But I had to tell her, you're gonna get in trouble one of these days if something happens to one of these kids here. You shouldn't even let your son do it. But hey, he's your son. I don't give a fuck. I'm just telling you. Because it's true. there's people out there that want to be friends with their kids so bad. And it's like, they're not your friends. They're your kids. You're supposed to raise them right and teach them the right thing. You're not supposed to be getting high with them or drinking with them and shit like that. What they do as an adult, they do as an adult. But 15 years old, 16 years old, 17 years old, and you're buying them alcohol, you're drinking with them. I just don't believe in that shit. And me personally, I don't do it when they're adults either, because I'm not their fucking friend. I'm your dad. Respect me as your dad. Don't ever try to call me your friend or treat me like your friend, because I will never be your friend. I don't want to be your fucking friend. I don't want you to be my friend. You're my child. That's it. And if you don't like it, then don't come around here. But that's just the way that it is. I'm a firm believer in that shit. You know what I mean? Whatever, like I said, what other people do is on, and people will be in the comments and shit, and they will try to defend their actions. They will. They'll say it's shit like, well, you should be your kid's friend and this and this and that. And yeah, I sometimes do drink with my kids, but this is stupidest shit this is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. And the person I was talking about earlier, this is what they said. And another person that was like that was my daughter's mom. My daughter's mom. Her mother was like that. All the guys hung out in the house. Everybody was drinking there at the house, 15, 16 years old. She would buy them alcohol, let them smoke weed in the house. They graffitied the whole bedroom. You know what I mean? The house was a party house, and the mom was in the middle of all of it. You know what I mean? She was in the middle of all of it. She just wanted to be friends with her daughter's friends, and so she was, and she would say stupid shit like, well, I'd rather her do it here than be on the streets. That was her excuse. And there's shit that people in the comments that'll say shit like that. Think about that. How fucked up in the head you are to say you'd rather your kid get high or drunk in your home instead of on the street because you can be there to watch them. How fucking dumb is that? But there's people out there that they actually believe that. That's a terrible fucking parent. If you think that way, you're a terrible fucking parent. Those are your kids. You should be trying to teach them the right things to do, not teach them shit like that. That I'd rather you do it here. I'd rather you get high in my house than to be on the streets. I don't understand that. I don't understand that fucking logic. I think that you're fucked up in the head for thinking that way. Like I said, I look on Instagram and shit, I see people like party with their kids and shit. Like me and my daughter or me and my son. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. But if you're guiding them that way and something happens to them, just know it's part of your fault. If they become drug addicts, alcoholics, it's part of your fault. One day they get drinking and driving, DUI, get into a fucking car accident, die in an accident. Part of that is your fault. Take part of the blame for it. Me, I won't take no blame for that. My kids go off and fucking do something stupid, get into a fucking car accident, DUI, kill somebody, kill themselves. I'm not to blame for that. I'm not taking no blame for that because I wasn't teaching them that shit. But if their mother was teaching them that shit, that's on her. You take part of that blame, not me. I don't want to be blamed for that shit. I don't want to be blamed for them taking somebody else's life in a fucking car accident or a DUI, or them becoming a fucking alcoholic or a drug addict. Don't blame me for that. When you sit down in front of, if you're in a fucking NA meeting or AA meeting as an adult, and you're telling your fucking your testimony, my name ain't gonna be in it. Maybe your mother's name might be in it. Maybe your grandmother's name might be in it. Maybe your aunt's name might be in it. But I'm not gonna be part of that testimony. I might not be the fucking best dad in the world. I ain't trying to be the best dad in the world. But I ain't never taught you that shit. So I will not be part of your fucking testimony or part of your court case because I didn't teach you those things. That's the way that I feel. Everything that you teach your kids, it affects them through their life. And if you're showing them that kind of shit, then you take part of the blame for it if something happens. I'm not saying something's gonna happen, but a lot of times shit does happen. So you as the parent, since you're right there with them and you're fucking and you contributed to the shit, then make sure that you're ready to take part of the blame for when something happens because you're the one who helped them get there. You guided them that way. So that's my personal opinion on that. I stand firm in that. My kids are not allowed to drink around me. I don't like them cussing in front of me. You don't like that, then don't be here. Don't be in my house. Go take that shit somewhere else. Go do that shit at your mom's house. Go do that shit with your grandmother. Go do that shit with your grandfather. But don't do that shit with me. That's just the way that I feel. And again, people are gonna feel the way they feel about it. That's on you. I don't give a shit. I don't mean to sound like a dick or nothing, but I don't give a fuck about your kids. Your kids can fucking whatever happens to your kids is your business, not mine. I don't give a fuck what happens to your kids. They ain't my kids, so I don't care. I've always been real. When I do my videos, I'm real. I don't fucking edit nothing. I tell you how I feel. You're not gonna get no apologies out of me. You know what I mean? Like these other people, I see them on YouTube. They'll say something, and then 2 weeks later, they'll do a little video like, "Yeah, I gotta apologize for this. I don't apologize for nothing because these are my true feelings. This is the way I feel. Whether it's about the cancer, my kids, my marriage, my friends, uh, certain people, certain races of people. If I feel the way that I feel, that's the way that I feel. I won't apologize for it. You don't like it, don't watch it. I don't care. But I'm just being real with you, and like I said, I don't care what happens to your kids. If you guided them that way, that's on you. Something happens to them, I don't have to fucking be at their funeral. I don't have to be at their court hearings. I ain't got to be at their little fucking NAA meetings when they're doing testimonials 20 years from now. I ain't got to go. I ain't got to go through all that shit. And I ain't got to raise your fucking grandkids when your kid's a piece of shit because you helped them become a piece of shit. And now you're raising their fucking kids because they're pieces of shit. I don't got to raise those fucking kids, so I don't care. That's the way I feel about that. That's my stance on that. And I won't change that. Not even for my grandkids, and I'm not going to change it for my younger stepson. It's not going to change. That's the way it's going to be. As long as it's at my house, he can't do that shit here. If his mom wants to hang out with him sometimes, have a beer with him later on, that's on her. But they ain't doing it here, not in my house. He can't do that here. Take that shit somewhere else. So anyway, with that being said, that's my video for the day. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.